Hi, Cancer. All right, so I've tried to do this video a few times and I keep running into technical issues. I know it's because the shadow of the retrograde is still affecting me, is beginning to affect me. You see, I'm not communicating properly. And I know that it affects me the most in my rising sign because I am the most in tune with my rising sign. So, this is me giving into the retrograde energy and saying, okay, I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to try and control this situation. I'm just going to talk to you, Cancer. I'm not going to worry about my hair or just all the different things that have happened in the course of today trying to make this video. We won't focus there. So, Cancer. Yes, I do live most truly through my Cancer rising. Therefore, I'm the most affected by it. The back of my neck is hurting. So let me put it to you this way. I have a Cancer that I know that's like amazing and extremely talented and obviously wounded, okay? Like all those things that you guys can be, that everybody appreciates so much about you. You know, that way where you can be really attractive in your sadness. In your pain, especially if you're good at processing your pain or making, art out of it or something. So this Cancer that I know reaches out to me every full moon. I don't think he realizes that he's doing it every full moon, which is funny to me. And like the narrative is basically always the same. Like, I think I need your help. And I'm like, well, yeah, you do. You do. And then just the thought of having to confront the things that he would need to get through to actually feel helped and have fundamental change, just the premonitory knowledge of what would have to be dissolved to reach that place is so terrifying that he, like, Cancerian scurries away. And then, like, as soon as the moon comes back out and, messes with him, puts his truth in front of him, then there he is again. Now, I have no romantic interest in this person. It's just not my speed. However, the nature of the interaction is the same as if there was a romantic element there. And I think anyone who's watching this video because you are interested in a Cancer or you're trying to understand a Cancer, you know exactly what I mean, right? Like, someone who can seem so genuine, okay? Sincere about something. And then kind of in the same moment simultaneously, that was the word I was looking for, can be the exact opposite. So, for example, in the scenario I've shared with you, that would be sincerely really being self-aware and knowing, that he needs help. And then at the very same moment, running from it and actually being very self-destructive instead. And a lot of people who are watching this for a Cancer are like nodding their heads like, yeah, that's how I feel. That's how this person treats me. So let's talk about what's out here, and then we'll talk about why you guys are doing that, why you do it normally, but why you're doing it more now. And what this month has to show you about that, how that relates to what needs to come apart for you this month. Because, see, here's the thing. Last month, you were in your shell trying to understand this process of once again forming yourself and, making a new shell. Creating it. And you used your imagination a lot. You were, in many, many ways, the creator of your new self. Okay? So you've just been using this power of imagination for something really profound and important that makes you feel really good and makes you feel uncharacteristically strong. Nothing like yourself, really. Because Cancers are strong, but not like this. This is the kind of strength that has to do with mental fortitude, where the mind is like a blade. Right? That's why air signs are swords. The mind is like a blade, the tongue is like a blade. And this is not really your realm. You're a much more round, oceanic water person. But this power that you feel now with this Queen of Swords energy, this has to do with having spent that time and given yourself the space and perhaps for the first time in a long time, maybe the energy to do something for yourself. Because generally what you guys do is you have all this life energy stored up, right? That just comes in into your, let's say, your karmic bank account because you are so loving and you are so giving and you are so nurturing. So you're constantly receiving this life energy in return, right? In just out of reciprocity with the universe. And there's a balance to that, right? There's like a fairness to that. You guys, you give out that energy and you get something back. You don't get back what you give out, though, is what I'm trying to say. You get back something else. You get back great things, but sometimes that thing that you give out that's so powerful, you need to use it for yourself, and that's what you were doing last month. And having used that on yourself, I think you came into a place of, a lot of strength. But also, let's get the obvious out of the way. If you are involved with a Libra or a Leo, or an air sign, then things are about to move really, really fast. And I think we knew they were. I think this is what creating the shell was about. This was all part of the get ready for battle love is on its way thing that we've been doing and prepping for and stressing about and being nervous and running towards and running away from. You know, this could be love. This could be that thing you really want to buy. This could be that job you really want to have. This could be that school you want to get into. It's that thing that you really want, but you know that you have to go through the muck before you can get there. Okay, so to relate it back again to the example that I gave you, after the muck of hanging out and getting through, you know, having the reading and doing the psychedelics and reaching the experience, would that person, after going through that kind of painful mind expanding, you know, experience, would that person reach a higher level of understanding and happiness? Sure. But before the pleasure is going to come the pain. And I think you guys can shy away from pain because you live there as it is. So your threshold is, it's crazy because in some ways the Cancerian threshold for pain is so high. You know, like people can do things to you where I'm like, you know, and then in other ways, your threshold is so low, you know, where someone can, with just a really kind of nonchalant remark, hurt you deeply, and it'll stay with you and it'll cut you every time you think about it. So there is this pain fear, okay, let's call it that. There is this pain fear, this fear of pain that has kept you from seeking the things that you need, seeking perhaps, let's take it more abstract, seeking perhaps the rational knowledge that you need, seeking perhaps the karmic resolution that you need, seeking perhaps an anchor in this kind of ocean of existence that you live in, where you can feel like a heavy, grounded center of strength. But more than anything, seeking movement, progress. It's been too frustrating for things to be so stop and start, and I have to impose this on you, that the stop and start that you experience comes from your own nature. You stop and start, and that's why the world stops and starts with you. You do it. You do it. Every Cancer I know that has learned to be continuous and fluid is a very successful Cancer. And I don't mean successful in terms of the world, because I know that doesn't mean anything to you. I mean in terms of emotional stability and contentment. But also I would like to mention that I wrote in my phone for Virgo and Cancer to mention that comfort zones are where atrophy begins. So why did I write that down for you guys? Because I think this here, and I'm actually going to stop shuffling in a second because I'm not forcing these cards anymore. I've realized that I need less and less cards, and I'm just not going to sit here and shuffle the whole time. But by the same token, like not you guys, but other readings, like other people on other readings have said like, wow, you shuffle for so long. And at first maybe I resisted that, but perhaps there is some merit to it. If the card doesn't want to come out, the card doesn't want to come out. You know? So, I think this is about the frustration that happens from the stop and start. Like, you don't want the stop and start, but what I'm saying is that you got to stop doing it if you want the world to stop doing it with you. And that means taking risks. And I think that you guys don't I think you're risk averse, and I don't think that I think you're afraid to want what you really want. These people here, you know, I think so many different people are coming up like this because, I mean, there's only 4 cards out. I think these people are coming up like this because you guys want people. You guys have like somebody that you really want, and you're terrified, and you're sabotaging, and you're walking sideways, and you're doing that thing that we all do. Oh, if I could even tell you how I did it in my own life, you'd be like, you did what? Thank God that like my self-sabotage doesn't work on my situation, because the person in my situation's figured out to just ignore my self-sabotage. So even when I do huge things that should make everything explode, he's like, huh, okay. This is you trying to destroy everything, right? Right. So find yourself, I don't know, find yourself someone who wants to watch you self-sabotage, but then think it's cute and like does, like helps you through it. I don't know. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that is it. That is it. You need someone to understand that, and to not take it personally when things are going well and you start to make things not go well. And when things are starting to lead to some real growth and change, and then you run away from the situation. You need someone who understands and says, and if you're watching this for a Cancer, so what you need to understand is that this person needs you to be like, okay, in the example, right? The perfect response to that is no worries. And the person reaches out and says, hey, I need help. I got you. The person doesn't reach out for another month, and then another month later is like, I'm so sorry. I really do need your help though. I got you. No worries. And you just leave that door open. But you see, what I'm not doing there is expecting anything. And I think that's really really important to understand about Cancers. You can't expect anything from them. You put expectations on a Cancer, and oh man, it's really not something, like, even just thinking about it is making me itch. Like, it's not something that they can control. They just shut down. Like, no, you can't put weight on me. I'm a mobile creature. Oh, no, just don't. Like, if you need something, and I don't have some sort of like familial blood, childhood, work-related, home-related bond to you, you know what I mean? Like, if you're just some person who's interested in me romantically and you start acting like you need me, ooh, brain goes blank. Like, honestly, like, my brain goes blank. Just no. That's, you know, once I like marry you and I'm with it, then is it different? Of course. Oh my God. But like, if you're just like a no, And that's also part of the self-sabotage, right? Because how strange is that like a group of people would feel like they don't want anyone to expect anything from them. But that's the thing. It's not that we consciously don't want people to expect things. It's just that that's the effect it has on us. And I also think that's why that what I wrote down was for Virgos and Cancers, because Virgos are like that too. If you put expectations on them, they shut down. They feel very pressured by that. And it's hard for them then to finesse the line between, are they doing this out of obligation or pressure, or are they doing it because they are being true to themselves? And that is the same with Cancerians. This is something that preoccupies you. So, comfort zones lead to atrophy. So what's atrophy? Atrophy is when a muscle starts to break down. So the nature of a muscle is either it's being worked or it's breaking down. There is no place where a muscle is at rest. No such thing. And it is a really good way of explaining what our energetic work is like, what our inner work is like, what our strive for being better should be modeled on. Okay, so like a muscle, our inner self and the work that we do on making ourselves better is either spiraling upward or it is devolving. When we stay in a comfort zone of any kind, be that in terms of your career, in finances, overspending, not spending at all, not feeling worthy enough to spend on yourself, very common Cancerian issue, or if it's in the realm of your personal relationships, if you feel like you are in this sort of little grotto, right, that you found for yourself where you can stay and it's really comfortable there, and you know all the rocks and the shells and the temperature of the water, and that's really good for you. What's happening is you're not actually growing. And I know you're like, okay, can you give us a break because we just did all this shell work and we've been growing? Yes, but you did the shell work to facilitate further growth with another person, with someone now being able to come in and enjoy that new shell and enjoy who you are now presenting to the world. So the work does not stop. And you guys do have a tendency to be, I'm sorry, please don't be mad. You know I love you guys. You know I do. And I'm including myself in this, okay? We have a tendency to be slightly lazy. And what I'm saying is that when we reach those little grottos where we can just kind of kick back and be lazy, let's say watch all of Sense8 in one day. The German dude. Yo, if you're going to switch over to somebody who doesn't give an F and will kill everybody involved, whoever the dude is that they switch over to, like, I picked that out as soon as that show started. Like, I always pick that dude. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then that moment happened and I was like, anyway. So we do have a tendency to reach these moments, these lulls, right? Okay, of laziness, because we get exhausted, because it's exhausting doing all this energetic work, right? And also, it's exhausting, but it's also, it's a labor of love, because no one is going to look at you from the outside and say, wow, you've done so much work. You know what the hell you've been doing, laying around, just being in your head and your feelings and going through it, even if you're at work, even if you're with your kids, even if, you know what I mean, all the other stuff you're doing, there's still a part of you that's like working on this all the time, right? And that's what makes Cancer so powerful, is that you can go about your normal life and still be manifesting and actively working on something at the same time. You have the ability to do that. This is why you guys make such great musicians, because you can be writing music and living at the same time. So, when you reach these lulls, it's important to break out. Now, the way that we break out here, the other reason that there's so many people here is because I'm going to tell you something counterintuitive. And it's going to be a little bit confusing. And like sand, it will grate on you a little bit, but it will help you, okay? And that's this. Last month, you used your imagination to recreate yourself. And this month, you're being asked to now take a look at how you use that imagination in relation to other people. Because where you use the imagination for your own good, this is the bottom of the deck, we're going to go with this as your outcome card, where you use your imagination for your own great benefit in manifesting things in your life and also in your, presentation of yourself, that same power becomes a liability and becomes debilitating when you look at it in relation to how it's used towards other people. So what do I mean? That's a really kind of circuitous, abstract way of saying that Cancers see and work off of their idea of a thing and their idea of a person. And it's so dangerous because very rarely does the person in question live up to the idea that we have created. Almost impossible to do. Now, what was even more dangerous is if you come across someone who, for some reason or other, justifies your level of obsession, infatuation, whatever it is. Someone who is a bit above average and fulfills a little bit more of what you're already starting in your super hopeless romantic brain to build up. I'm sorry, I keep hitting this table. Anyone who is even slightly, less of a disappointment than usual becomes even more hyped into this idea that is not sustainable, it's not honest, it's not helpful, it's not productive. It doesn't help you stay true to who you are. It doesn't help you make the right decisions for what's good for you, right? The way I like to liken this is to when people vote against their own interests. So, for example, if people were voting in their own interests in this country or any country, right, they would all the poor people and middle class people would vote together, because if they were all voting for their interests, they would vote with their economic group, right? So they would have more power as an economic group and they could affect more change. However, people consistently throughout history vote against their interests, right? They vote against their interests because there are other things, they have ideas of things that are more important to them than the reality of what they actually need. So, for example, poor people and middle class people need healthcare, okay? If that was what they were going off of, which is this is my need, then they would all pool together and say, hey, we all want this thing for free. And we're 99% of this country, so give it to us. Right? That would be voting with your own interests. However, people instead have ideas about things. And their idea about that thing that doesn't actually exist in reality, it's just their perception of that thing, is so much more important to them than doing what is best in their best interest, okay? Which would be voting all together with all sorts of people. So, in this case, the very subtle thing that I'm leaving out here, the idea is racism, okay, if you haven't guessed. So, we'll talk about that more in the Ramblings videos. Okay, so, how does that apply? It applies in this way. You have ideas in your head about who these people are. And off those ideas, you make decisions that are not in your best interest. And April is going to make you look at that. And you need to look at it because we're coming into a time of movement and things being created and made and brought to fruition, okay? Finished, completed, feeling a part of, together. And that requires movement and not just living in the fantasy. That's something in reality. That's real. That's tangible. Okay? That's material. And these nebulous, non-based in reality ideas that we can have about people, that's not going to fly right now in this time of material manifestation. It's just not going to work. So we're being asked to look at it as what it is. Is it the idea of the thing we love? What's the reality behind the idea? I got a lot of ideas about people. Are they actually like what that person is like or what that person's doing to me? No. I see them through the filter of my heart. But this month, we have to look through a different filter. Oh, and I know we hate it. But it's not good for us. In a perfect world, okay, where everyone went with their heart, we'd be fine. But this world is cruel to Cancers, yeah? But it turns out Cancers are cruel right back because you guys are the sign, or now it's you guys, no, us. We're the sign that murder people the most, turns out. Out of jealousy. Oh, I can totally see that. And then Scorpios are second, but you guys are like the silent first runner-up. So what does this, what does this leave you with? What does the end of April look like here? I'll put it to you like this. Everybody works with a certain amount of room. Okay? Like we have a certain amount of room in our life and we say, this is how much I can love people. This is how much I can do for people. This is how much I can be available emotionally. A Pisces, for example, their capacity for that is unlimited. Anyone who seems to come to them and say, help me, they're like, okay. You guys, us, we have very limited room. And we're very picky about who we love. We'll give and we'll heal. But who we love and who we let in is very, very it's after a discerning process. And why? Because we have very little square footage. We only but have this shell, right? When you have so little square footage, you have to be really picky about who you let in. And that cuts both ways because although it can keep you safe and although that does really amp up the quality of attention and love you do give to people who are lucky enough to be in that space. But it cuts the other way in that if there are people in there based on the idea you have of them and not what they really are, they're taking up very valuable space because there's so little of it. And so this removing the filter of your heart and seeing things in this really rational way, it's necessary to get that spring cleaning done and make some room and get some open square footage so you can get some new, something that you want, something that's going to make you feel like getting into something real, something that will make you feel brave, something that will bring you love, something that'll work. And in case you're wondering, underneath all that, if that's what you're here for, He's still here. He's not going anywhere. If you thought he was going anywhere, you don't understand him. So, quite a lot of outcome cards, but you know, we're doing this the way I feel it, and always with you guys, because how do we get here? Make room. Doesn't this seem like a lot that you would have to make room for? This is how much room you need to make, Cancer. Okay? This is how much. And Mercury retrograde, the only thing I can tell you, the only thing that's going to help you, this is how the manic panic situation works. I call you guys manic panic. I call Cancers manic panics. And when they act like, you know, Cancers, then I call them, what is that on my screen? Then I call them manic panic. So the really sensitive one who lives in the shell, something happens, especially during Mercury retrograde, and the person in the shell panics. And then the part of you, the other part of you, the person who is the shell, not in the shell, but is the shell, goes manic. Out of anger, out of retaliation, out of defense, out of revenge, out of jealousy, out of reaction, out of lashing out. And Mercury retrograde is going to test you. Ooh. You're going to want to panic. For a few days there, it's going to look like nothing is making sense. It's not going to be fun, but just keep making room. Make a lot of room. Look at people for who they really are. Is it going to make them go away? No, probably not, but you can still make room within yourself by reaching greater understandings of what you are and what's good for you and how to vote in your best interest with your actions. Okay, Cancer? So, fun reading, super, super fun. I will be in San Francisco April 1st to the 7th, LA April 8th to the 12th, San Francisco again the fuckery I have planned. You don't even know. Did you see my shoes on Instagram? Back in San Francisco from the 12th to the 18th. New York from the 18th to the 1st of May. Denmark from May till August. Okay? So, if you would like to have a reading while I'm in San Francisco, it's filling up really, really fast. So please get in touch with me and I'll send you a price list. Or you can go to the Facebook page that you can find a link for here on the YouTube channel, and you can buy the readings there at the Facebook shop. I also have a book coming out in the spring. It's also going to be an ebook and an audiobook that I'm going to narrate myself in my calm Cancer voice and not my high-pitched, I'm yelling at you, Aries voice. And that book will be called The Tarot of Inner Work. And it will be based on the different healing modalities I've come across that you can use to just see what's going on within you, right? Once you've used tarot to facilitate that process of insight within you, then the different healing modalities you can use to just perhaps change your patterns a little bit. Get some new results instead of living out the same old thing. So it will be very interesting, and I'm really excited about it, and all the updates about that and when it's coming out and where it will be available all of that, as well as any other news, as well as the easiest way to reach me is always Instagram at AmberKhan. And my email address, I'll leave it below. You can always email me as well. And I'll leave my Snap below as well. Okay. So that's about it. Get ready for your birthday. It's going to be super fun. I'm going to do your July readings from a out of control fantasy garden. The house that I have in Denmark, the garden is beyond insane. So look forward to that and have a happy spring. I love you guys. You guys are the best. Be nice to the people that love you, even if you don't love them back, because they're really having a hard time dealing with you right now. They're so confused. Still love you though.